Yep, it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and kick this event off. This is, in case you aren't aware, this is Diagnosis of CAN bus with information available at the DLC. Of course, we're going to be blown away by the guy I call the Great Santini because he's the CAN bus master, and I say nothing else other than Al, take it away. Do remember that any questions will go in the Q&A. Actually, we have the chat running, so go ahead and you can drop questions in chat as well. So questions in chat afterward, and Al will get to those, I promise. So,
well, good afternoon. It's noon here, by the way. I'm on Central Daylight Time. I realize we have people from all around. And like Jimmy said, my name's Al Santini, and I'm a technical trainer for ConsuLab. I'm immediately going to go and share my screen. And I'm going to try just where I'm sharing the screen. And I'm going to turn on the camera. Okay. I'm not selling equipment here, by the way. You need to know that. This is the MP 1918, and I've got flashing lights on now only to prove to you that the CAN bus is actually working. So I'm going to turn those off because they kind of drive me crazy. I'm going to be using the DLC here. Now I'm going to turn this camera off in a little while, but you need to know that there's a Deutsch connector at the top and the DLC down here. I'm currently with a multimeter in pin 6 and 14. This is a high-speed network with a CAN high and a CAN low. And I know you probably can't see colors that well, but they're green and yellow. And again, this is our MP 1918. So with that, let me turn this camera off. This takes a couple of seconds to load. And while it's loading, let me mention, if you're going to teach, and you're going to start teaching this CAN bus, and hopefully you're teaching CAN bus already. CAN bus is really not that difficult. And let's get a little closer. Okay, and we'll turn the light on so we can see the lights. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to an ohm meter. And, some people in the room are saying, oh my God, look at the resistance is bouncing all over the place. I'm showing you this, only this is a little trick. It's not a bad trick to show students. It's not anti-fluke or anything like that. The CAN bus system is up right now. And, I know there's a lot of people who say, oh, you should never put an ohm meter into a circuit that has current flowing through it. And it doesn't matter. You can do that all day long and it won't have any impact on it. But you can see how the meter floats. Okay, it goes as high as about 6 volts. And, so basically what you're looking at is you're looking at a pulse width modulation. Now, I'm going to turn the power supply off. Okay, and it'll settle down. Once it settles down, it goes to sleep. Okay, now it's asleep. Now, remember on CAN bus, we have 2 resistors, 220 ohm resistors. They're wired in parallel. And if you know your Ohm's law, you realize that means we're going to have 60 ohms. Realistically, when you do diagnostics, your students need to recognize that there are generally 4 choices. Almost never is there anything other than those 4. The first choice is a good number, 60 ohms. Why is that good? 2 120 ohm resistors wired in parallel. The total resistance is half or 60. Now, if I get rid of one of these resistors for whatever reason, and I have the luxury of being able to disconnect things here, what we're going to see somewhere around 120, it's 118 ohms actually, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 ohms because we have only one resistor in the circuit. Now, most CAN bus circuits will function with only one resistor in place and functioning. However, you pick up some strange diagnostic trouble codes, and you can also have an engine which runs extremely bad because it's got other things wrong with it, but the one resistor missing prevents the monitors from running. So you don't have anything generating, you don't have anything generating your DTCs or anything else. Okay, so there's 2 out of the 3. If one resistor is missing, we wind up with 120 ohms. If both resistors are functioning, we wind up with 60 ohms. Now I'm going to walk over to the other side and I'm going to unplug the other resistor. Okay, now both resistors, and you can see it's 9.47. Now part of it is in theory it's going to be 0, but it's 9.47 kilo ohms right now. Not 0, excuse me, it's going to be infinity. But depending on the vehicle and depending on, in our particular case, this particular trainer, you don't get all the way up to infinity, but you get high enough resistance that there's basically no current flow. 9,470 ohms is high enough, and some cars will go as high as mega ohm. So there's the third one. First one was 60 ohms, everything was fine. Second one was 120 ohms, one resistor is out. Third resistance reading is basically infinity, and that means both resistors are out. Let me plug them both back in. Okay, I'm going to take a jumper wire and I'm going to short CAN bus. And now we basically went to 0 ohms. What did we just do? Well, the most basic diagnostic test is the resistance value of the CAN bus. CAN bus has to have a decent resistive value, otherwise the signals get messed up. Okay, you can have multiple CAN buses. What I'm doing here is I'm looking at high speed, because high speed is the most common thing. We're slowly eliminating low speed, and there are some cars that don't have any low speed on them at all. My Mustang is that way. The Mustang Monkey, it does not have any low speed CAN bus. It only has a couple of high speed CAN buses. So don't ignore this. I had an automotive instructor, hopefully not in the room, but I had an automotive instructor come up and say, well, that's old school. That's old technology. Why would I want to teach that? Well, it may be old technology, but it's very, very valid technology. And that's the important part. The validity of it is the important part. Okay. We have any questions on the ohm meter section of this? Because we're going to do three different things.
There's a question that said, would it read 0 if the system was shorted?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Would it read 0 if the system was shorted?
Yeah, the system is shorted right now. You've got 0.3. That's basically 0 ohms. And actually the third 0 is not showing up real well. It's interesting. It's the camera though, I think. But anyway, that's an actual 0. So that's basically 0 ohms. I didn't zero the multimeter out either. If I had zeroed the multimeter out, it would truly be 0. And what I have done is I've gone up to the end of line resistor that's on the left side of the panel because it's close to me, and I jumpered it with a wire. So I jumpered the 2 sides of it, so I shorted it. So you've got 4 common things.
So somebody said, just to clarify, it's shorted between the 2 CAN communication wires, not the power or ground supplies to any modules?
Correct. And the other thing is there's no power to this. Now, you can do this. You can do this test on a car, and you can actually go find especially if you have an outside end of line resistor, one that's readily accessible, unplug it and short it. Don't do it with the system on. it shouldn't have any impact, but it might. So, you know, don't do that. But I've turned the system off right now. I'm going to unplug this and get it working again, and then go on to oscilloscope. But no, I am at the pin 6 and pin 14. So I am not in power or ground. I'm in pin 6 and 14, which is the communication pins. And I had 6 and 14 in the DLC, by the way. Got another one?
Nope. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get rid of my jumper. And with the jumper removed, we should go back there at 60 ohms. Okay. We're in pretty good shape. Now again, I'm gonna turn the power on. And you'll notice, see what the ohm meter does? Now, you can do this on the communication side. You don't want to do it on some of the other sides. But anyway, so I'm going to turn this off. Actually, I'll leave it on for a while. Let me get my other connections made.
Do you have to disconnect the battery?
No, and well, what you have to do is you have to turn power off. So if I'm on a keyed car, I'm going to take the key out and I'm going to put the key in my pocket. When I put the key in my pocket, this is the kind of a reading that I should not get. This is with it running. Let me turn it off again. Okay. It'll settle down. It'll settle in at 60 ohms. Okay. So the 60 ohms tells me the communication is okay. And if I'm running it, that tells me the system is not grounded. See, if you look at a manual, the manual might say, well, you need to test for 60 ohms, and then you need to test and make sure that either pin 6 or 14 is not grounded. So you go to pin 4 or 5 in the DLC with one of your ohm meter leads, put the other one on 6, and do the same with 14 and make sure they have infinity. This is doing the same thing. You won't have this signal if you have a grounded CAN bus. You might have the right resistance, but you won't have this kind of a signal. Okay, take a minute here, explain you what I'm doing. Okay, I'm getting ready to move in the digital storage oscilloscope into this. So I am connecting my 2-channel oscilloscope to pins 6 and 14, the same ones I did the ohm meter test on. And then I'm picking up ground for the DSO, and I'm using pin 4. Okay, now. So we'll load Pico, and again, you can use any oscilloscope you want. It doesn't have to be Pico. I'm using a Pico 2-channel oscilloscope, and right now the system is off. So once it zeros, it's looking for data. That's just noise. Okay, we're not going to do any updating today, that's for sure. And we're going to go and we're going to turn. Okay, now channel A is over here on the left-hand side. It's on auto DC. Channel B is auto DC, and the speed is 5 milliseconds per division. So let me turn the power on. And it's going to take the system a little while. Okay, and now I'm going to split these apart so we can see them a little bit better. Okay, now what are you looking at there? I stopped it, by the way. I don't have a trigger on it right now, which is why it's floating around, and that's okay. It really doesn't matter for what I want to show you. We know that almost anything which has an impact on the CAN bus system will show up as a non-mirror image. So what do we mean by a mirror image? Well, you're looking at 2 packets, okay? Red lead, the top lead, is in pin 14, and the blue lead is in pin 6. Okay, so CAN high and CAN low. If I expand this, and there's 2 ways to do this, and I'll show you both ways. I'm going to expand it. Maybe. Let's expand it again. Okay, there's your mirror image. Now the system, now let me back up a little bit here so you understand what you're looking at. The system is running right now. I could turn it on and I can turn lights on or whatever, but I can tell by looking at the MP19 unit is up. I have all 4 modules are lit, so they are communicating. That's the communication bus. You'll notice the red one starts at, and it's a little hard to see because Jimmy and everybody else is in the way here. Let me see if I can get rid of you guys. No, that didn't work. Oh, I screwed that up, didn't I? Share screen, share screen. And okay, back. Sorry about that. You're still seeing the DSO, aren't you, Jimmy?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm in pin 6 and I'm in 14, and these are packets. Now, what's a packet? Well, a packet is a series of information that where the modules are communicating. Now, you'll find on our MP1918, you don't have a lot of data because it's only 4 modules. You do this on a car and you have a lot more. Okay, now we're gonna get it running again. And I'm going to show you the second way to do this, and that is to reduce the speed or increase the speed actually. You know, I'm at half a millisecond. Okay, and I'm having a little bit of trouble. I'm capturing it. I'm trying to make it simple here. And I'm not, it's not, there we go. Okay, so this is the same thing. Now you're actually looking at 3 packets there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. There's a little space in the middle. So let's expand like maybe 1.5 packets. Okay. You see the space that's right at about on the time on the bottom is at right around 1.90, right around that neighborhood. Okay, right here. That's the end of this packet and the beginning of this packet. Now the key here is to look for irregularities. Now realize that this is as close to a mirror image that you're ever going to get. You don't worry about the information in between 2 packets. See, that's not a mirror image of that. That's okay. It's the important part is where the data is. Now, don't go nuts with this. Because for instance, if I start and I just keep making this bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, eventually you look at it and you say, well, it's not exactly a mirror image. Oh, come on. Let's not be ridiculous with it. The mirror image part is extremely important here. Now I'm going to get out of this. Okay, and I'm going to turn it back on. Now, one of the probably the reason more than anything else that I'm using this ConsuLab MP1918 is I can put faults in. I just put a fault in on a CAN bus. Now you'll notice the first thing is you don't have any packets, do you? Let's give it more time. Look at that. No packets, right? It's a constant signal. And this probably, if you were to actually see this on a car, the car would probably have been towed in on the end of a tow hook, as opposed to when I take that out, then all of a sudden we have packets again. Okay. And of course, the other way to do this, and it makes a lot of sense to do it that way, I just was being lazy, is to go and put a trigger in. And if we put a trigger in, it'll lock it down. I gotta find my trigger. Here it is. And let's put a little less time so we get to see more. Okay, there's your mirror image. Without a mirror image, you don't have communication. And I don't think we have time today, but maybe if you want more of this kind of stuff, I'll be happy to do it, and we put together another thing. But if you go on IATN, and hopefully you're a member, and you can go and you can pick off of their database. There are thousands of CAN bus non-mirror image signals, thousands of them. So it's extremely easy to find the information that you probably need to be able to teach your class or whatever. Okay, do we have any questions on the mirror image part?
There's a couple questions. One,
Okay,
it's a little lengthy. They want to know, is it correct that we'll have a fluctuating reading anytime the system is awake, even if the key is out?
No.
I have found many systems can take up to 15 minutes to enter sleep mode.
Yes, and when the key is out and it's in sleep mode, you have no signal. But it may take time to go, and some of the electric vehicles take over an hour.
Somebody, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So, I mean, that's a realistic comment, and the answer is, if the system is awake, you're going to have a signal. If the system is not awake, you're not going to have a signal.
Someone asked if you could review what pins everyone's looking at. Is it OBD 11 DLC?
No, pin 6 and pin 14 in the DLC.
And there's often discussions about decoding the packets.
Yeah,
Decoding the packets, is that valuable in your opinion?
Absolutely, but we don't have time to do it.
In a half an hour, you don't have time, obviously.
No way. We can
But there's
decode
merit
packets.
to it.
Yeah, there is some merit to it. It's a difficult thing to teach, by the way. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna leave this and I'm gonna go back to, where am I? Right there. Okay, and let's play a little bit with, make this a little easier to see. No, that won't work. Okay, now you're looking at a uptown scanner.
Something doesn't look right there, Al.
Yeah, wait a minute, I'll get it straight. How about that? Is that better?
There's still a signal running behind there, but yes. Bingo.
Okay, now scanner. So the last part of this, of the three pieces, is to go into diagnostics. I'm connected to my 2021 Chevy Colorado right now. The whole screen here. Okay, I'm gonna go over to manual. And you got to play around with this, okay? This is a 2021, okay? And I know you probably can't read it, but it has already decoded the VIN on the car. It's down at the bottom. It's very hard to read, though. I apologize for that. I've not found a good way. At least, this works. This is a Chevrolet. So we'll hit Chevrolet and we'll hit Colorado. And now it's got everything that it needs. And I'm just, I'm going through and watch. So what it's done now is it has said what transmission is in it. Not equipped. So it is pinging the modules. And as it pings the modules, it needs to know what radio's in the car. Now, I'm going to go over to diagnostics, control units. What have I just done? Okay. What you see here I've done that before, is 3 pages. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 pages of modules. So you got 8 modules there. You have 12 there. That's 20. And you have 3, 6, 7, 8, 28. So you have 28 modules on this truck. Now, what do you do with the students? Okay, you have them write each one of these down that they got off the scanner, and then you give them a wiring diagram on CAN bus, and they check off each one of them. And in theory, the vehicle says it's got 28 modules. So now we look at the wiring diagram, and the students see that every one of those 28 modules is in fact on the wiring diagram and present. And they're going to come up with they're going to come up to you and say, hey, Mr. Dinsmore, I've got the vehicle says I got 28 and I got 30. Okay, what 2 are you missing? And then they'll say something like, well, it doesn't, it's missing sunroof. Does the vehicle have a sunroof? And the answer is no. Well, then that's why it's missing. But so if you get rid of the things that the vehicle doesn't have, and a lot of times it's done by the scanner in advance, it kind of precludes the issue. But if not, the student has to be smart enough to look at the list and say, okay, I've got 28 modules that the car says are there. And I have 28 modules on the wiring diagram. I'm copacetic. Everything's great. 28, 28. It's when you look at it and you see 28 on the screen, on the scanner, and you got 29 on the car. One of them is missing. That's the module that's not communicating. And so that's the purpose in doing this. It's to see what's on the data line and whether that is able to communicate or not. If you eliminate it, then it's very easy. Now, to be honest with you, this is hard to do in a school, because if you take one of your shop cars and you start unplugging modules, the shop car is going to be trash in about 1 or 2 classes. That's where your trainers like the MP 1918 I'm using here give you the ability to be able to turn off modules and to things like that. Okay, and we've got some other MP 750 which is a Honda, and it's got 3 different CAN bus networks on it, but you do the same thing with it. So in theory, I'll keep this up on the screen. In theory, you have a CAN bus system that comes in the door. What's the first thing you have the students do? Ohm out the high-speed network. What's a good reading? 60 ohms. 95% of the vehicles are 60 ohms. Okay? And if you don't have 60 ohms, you got to get 60 ohms. So I have to do that first. Second thing, we look for the mirror image. The mirror image tells us that what's going through the 60 ohm circuit is balanced. It's the same. By the way, those resistors take the 2 sides of the CAN bus, CAN high, CAN low, and connect them together. But they're a high enough resistance that the 2 of them operate independent. So if something has gone wrong with one side, it drags the other a little bit, but you don't have a mirror image. Once you're done with the mirror image, get a scanner, a bidirectional scanner, because the bidirectional scanner, when you see, and I realize you can't read it, but when you see that it automatically picked up the VIN, that's the bidirectional part. It is communicating bidirectionally. If it doesn't communicate bidirectionally, you have to physically put in the VIN on a bidirectional scanner. That's telling you there's something wrong with the CAN bus, because this truck sent this in to the DLC on CAN bus. Okay? Questions? Hey,
And somebody want to know what
12:30.
somebody want to know what ESC you're using?
Being on the car?
And yeah, he said, what ESC are you using here?
Well, I'm using the MaxiSys system on hotel. And if that's what he means, and if not, I mean, I'm using what the cars using. Scanto's hotel.
Okay. A good friend of yours in Michigan is asking, are you saying that an oscilloscope is now an essential tool to diagnose CAN bus?
Let me guess who this is. Yes, Mr. Krieger, it is an absolutely essential tool. And two channel for CAN bus. You can't really do it with, with two single channels, but you can do it with a single oscilloscope that's two channel.
I think that's probably more of a rhetorical question than anything.
I know it is.
So. Well, Al, it is after 1:30, and I think we've flown through the questions here. Just to let everybody know before you disconnect, because you signed up for this, you will get a notification that the recording is done. You'll receive the recording. You can rewatch it, share it. It will also be up on our YouTube channel probably by this time tomorrow. Along with all of our other previous webinars are all up on our YouTube channel. I highly encourage you to spend some time on there catching up on some of the wisdom we try to share. We definitely want to thank Al for his time and the aforementioned wisdom I mentioned. Be sure if you're coming to NACAT next month in Detroit, Al will be there, and you're presenting on?
I'm presenting on electric vehicles and ADAS. I have two classes.
Excellent.
They're each 3.5 hours long, so they're in depth.
Good. And we've captured everybody's emails here. So you will get an email from us with your certificate of participation. You can put that toward your professional development hours as well.
I think your question just popped because I saw it pop on the screen.
What if the vehicle is using a security gateway?
Well, the gateway means that you're going to have to go past the gateway and back probe, which just makes it a little more difficult, but still possible. And this is where in the school situation, it's going to be very, very difficult. And again, I'm not trying to sell anybody anything, but that's where our MP750 comes into play, because you can back probe or connect to all of the CAN bus anywhere on the vehicle. And even though that vehicle doesn't have a gateway, you can treat it as if it had a gateway. Gateway, for those of you that don't understand what a gateway is, gateway allows communication between two CAN buses. So you have CAN bus A and CAN bus B, and they communicate via one another at the gateway. And usually the gateway then communicates to the DLC. So what you see at the DLC is not exactly what I showed you today. Not all vehicles use a gateway, though. Don't get, I don't know what percentage it is. It's not even 50% yet.
Very good. Everybody's looks like everybody liked the class, thanking us for that time.
Good. My pleasure. Everybody take care, and we'll see you down the road a ways.
Take care.
Bye now. Bye now. Bye.